3D software, I mean, it's just a huge umbrella of possibilities. But one of the things that we're starting to see happening more and more is, where did this all start? Where did this all start, right? It's going back to the future, back to the past. And we're talking about in the 80s is when this whole technology got started, right? Charles Hall came up with this technology, saw stereolithography, and he's saying, we're going to do layer by layer by layer and see what actually happens when we want to build a geometry. How many of you actually have seen the machines working? Right? I mean, you could just watch it for hours. Like, what is it doing? But it takes hours, right? Everyone asks, why isn't it going faster? When is it going to get cheap? Right? There's so many things that, but think about it, back to your college days of when you had to make the balsa and wood foam and the foam core models, like how long that took. Everything, it's always proportionate, right? So when you start to look at just some of the machines that are on the market, the machines that are out, there are hundreds of machines. How many of you have been to Maker Faire? If you had an opportunity, you absolutely should go. It's at the Queens Fair Museum in Queens. And it's just the most fantastic thing. It's like this, just on steroids. There's crayons, there's locksmith, there's all kinds of possibilities. RepRap really, once happened, is the patent expired on the extrusion process. That's the reason why this whole thing has exploded within the past like 5. So the whole RepRap movement then built up to a lot of the commercial desktop machines, which is part of the reason why you see why most of them are happening. So when you start to get to the present and you start to see what's happening with the models that are on the table, all of those models were printed in color. They were not painted, it was not dyed, it came out of the machine like that. In the automotive industry, you're starting to see a lot of cars that are implementing this technology in some way, shape, or form. Your steering wheel, perhaps. An air duct. You know, parts of cars are now being made through this. And this, again, this has been in the automotive industry for well over 20 to 25 years. The Irby. This car is actually fully, pretty much 100% 3D printed. And it's a functional model. If you can actually look on YouTube, it's actually driving on the roadways. Now, from a crash test standpoint, who knows if it's going to stand up to mustard, but this is the start of it. In the fashion industry, I'm sure most of you have seen people wearing shoes or glass. Nike, Reebok, these guys are making the cleats for shoes that are actually been done through this technology. You can see here earrings. In this case, this is if any of you are old enough and you remember the Fisher-Price record player, right? You can play the song, it'll generate the 3D printed model, and you can put it on the record player and you can play that music. The DI wire bender, fantastic. You can bend aluminum and steel on some of the models. This lady, she's 83 years old. They took from a CAT scan, and they 3D printed her jaw in metal, titanium, and then put that in her mouth for surgery. Hearing aids, all done through 3D printing now. Or, apropos, really should be called additive manufacturing. But we'll talk about that later. This is great. Recycled milk jugs, bottles. So they use that to then make the boat, and that's 3D printed. Hershey is already using for chocolate. I don't know what or why. They're 3D printing with sugar now. So the possibility this technology is bringing to the forefront is huge. You can 3D print your baby before it's born. Really? That's just way too much. The possibilities. Some of you, maybe you're in your tub and you want to have your glass of wine while you're in Calgon, Take Me Away. Air hockey. Neri Oxman is great at MIT doing biomimicry 3D printing. Doing it in the art world, just using it for amazing geometric possibilities. 10 and 24. Anyone want to take a guess what that is? 10 houses built in 24 hours in concrete. 10. Awesome, right? Ceramic 3D printing, right? There's a machine coming to the market this year for $10,000. You still have to bake it afterwards, right? But one of the things that you'll see, as you guys know, complexity is free, right? You're not charged more just because something is more complex or has intricate undercuts, or machine just makes it layer after layer. So as NRI, for the last one, we'll just talk about this last project that we just did for the Toll Brothers, Barry Rice, BBB, and Andrew Bartle for the Hudson project, where they had to build this model, and working with NRI, they're able to walk in and talk to someone. That's the biggest thing I'm a proponent of, is being able to understand the technology, what its capabilities are, what its limitations are, and actually see that this model was made where the middle portion was 3D printed. We still use traditional model making. We 3D print some of the cars and buses. We don't print the trees, and we go from there. Thank you.